So it's been a while since we've posted any videos on our channel. So I thought I would make a video on an update with what we're doing, how things are going. When I went over there to the Philippines in December of 2022, we got engaged. So when I came back, we started our process. So in February of 2023, we filed our paperwork, and we met on Christian Filipino, and that's where we met, on that dating site. And doing the research, I found that there was a sister company tied to them called Filipino Visa. And so when they do our visa process, I hired them to do all of our visa processing. They're a very good company to use. If you're doing visas to America or anywhere from the Philippines, yeah, I would definitely use them. They make it so much easier, especially being on joining different visa groups on Facebook. A lot of people doing it themselves. There is no way we would ever have done it on our own. That's why we didn't, because you see the people, they're lost, and you can mess it up so easy, and the process take you way longer than it would have to. So doing it right the first time pays off. So yeah, we hired Filipino Visa to do all of our visa processing, paperwork, and all that stuff, because there's a lot of paperwork. So we did started out filing for a I-129F, K1 for her and K2 for her little girl. And so it was 2 visas. And yeah, it's filing for the I-129F. To start it, both of you do a lot of paperwork, and you file it, and then there's a long wait time. For us, when you file it, it takes about 2 weeks, and then you get your NOA, notice of action, NOA 1. We got our NOA 1 like February 26th of 2023. Once you get your NOA 1, then you just sit. There's nothing to do. It's just months and months and months of sitting waiting for them to eventually get to you and get to the file, and where they do the paperwork and process it. It took us 9 months. We got our NOA 2, Notice of Action 2, from the I-129F, from the first step, which is the USCIS, is where it's initially filed at, and that's what you get your NOA 1 from, and then you get your NOA 2 from them. We got our NOA 2 on, it was end of November, middle of November, somewhere around like November 20th or something like that, of 2023. So that was a humongous step, because that was between NOA 1 and NOA 2 is your dead period, your really long dead period. And it used to be over a year to get it, and it was up to a year still. With us, like I said, it took 9 months. So we got our NOA 2 on November, and then once it went from there, once they passed and approved it, then it moves on to the National Visa Center. Once the National Visa Center gets it, then they get it, and it sits there for a couple weeks. For us, it sat there for a couple weeks. and then they went ahead and processed it and moved it and sent it to the U.S. Embassy in the Philippines. Once it got to the U.S. Embassy in the Philippines, they processed it, and once it was processed and posted that it was ready, then we set up the appointments for the medical exam and the interview. You have to have the medical exam done before you have the interview. And they have to coincide in a timely manner with each other. So, like I said, we just let our coordinator do everything for us. We just went along with it. So they set it all up. Ended up, the girls, they had to fly from their island up to Manila and to do the next step. So on January, they got the NOA2 on end of November. So it took 2 months before they got to Manila to go to that next step. So they got the medical, they flew to Manila on January 28th. And 2 days later, January 30th, they had their medical. It took a couple days. It's like 2 days of medical. And if you got even a cold or a cough or anything, it can kind of delay you. So you got to stay healthy. You not be sick at all. It's crazy. It's pretty crazy with the whole medical, because I mean, you could just have a cold and it derails everything. So the girls isolated themselves for a long time, working up towards the medical. So they stayed healthy, and so when they got there, unfortunately, the little girl, being 6, going to school and all that around kids, she got a cough, and all she had was a cough. But it delayed it a couple days because of that. So it took them 3 days to clear the medical, because they went the first day, and because she had a cough, they didn't really so much care about the cough as like a cold, but COVID. So she had to take a COVID test. Well, we had to wait for the COVID test to pass, and as long as the COVID test passed, then she could proceed. Well, while we're waiting on her clearance from the COVID test, her mom, Abigail, went ahead and did her second day process, which is vaccinations. So she went and finished hers. When she finished hers, and that on the day 2 part, she got test results back from the COVID, and it came back negative. It was just a cough. So the little girl was good. She could get hers done. So day 3, she got her vaccinations, and they were done. Now, when the medical was scheduled, the interview was already scheduled. So you're notified at the end of the medical that, yeah, you're good. You're cleared. You passed. So you don't go leaving there not knowing, because that's how it was kind of how we took it. That's how it would go, is you'd leave there not really knowing until you went to the interview that you passed the medical or not. But it's not. They let you know that you passed it. So February 6th was the interview. And she had, with the company coordinator, mock interview practice. So she knew what to go into, and they went to the extreme of, asking questions. And when you get to the interview, you gotta, I don't know, the person that works at the embassy, what you want to call them, consulate. They can ask you, depending on who you get, how how many questions they ended up asking. But actually she went, and it was really fast, and they asked her a few questions, but it was nothing serious. But so she went through that really quick, and once that got done and they got approved, then you can go ahead and set up your, well, actually, we were told to wait. It took 7 days to get receive the actual visas after she was approved. So a week later, which was on Valentine's Day, February 14th, she got the visas. So she had both her and the little one's visas, K1 and K2 visas, in hand. And that day, she let the coordinator know that she got the visas. She went to the office and had them open the packet, because that's a whole nother crazy thing where you can mess that up, and then the visas got to be all redone. They got to redo them and repackage them and send them to you, because they come in packages, and that package can't be cut or attempted to try to been opened. So when you get to the U.S. and you get your point of entry, they open that packet at customs, and if it's been tampered with, then you can't enter. It's no good. It's crazy. But so she went to the office to have them open that package, because they know how to do it, to get the passports out, because your passports were left at the embassy with them and then processed with the visas. So you have to get your passports out so you can come over to America. So they had to get those out of that packet. Well, we let them at that office open it so it didn't get messed up on the opening, because people have done it. And so because if you mess it up and they have to redo it, then you're waiting several weeks to get a new packet redone. So she when they opened the packet and all that on Valentine's Day, she scheduled the CFO, which is the Commission for Filipinos Overseas class. And anybody in the Philippines that gets a visa to go out of country for work, or like us, marriage, they got to go to this class, and they got to get this certificate. So she scheduled the class, and she went on that on February, like a week later. I want to say it was February 19th or 20th. So she did the class, and it's a few hours, like 3 or 4 hour class. And they just teach you the basics of, it's not based on America. It's for anywhere these people, she said there was people in the class going to Canada, over to Europe, like the United Kingdom, just everywhere. So they teach you, they tell you what to be aware of, like the whole trafficking thing that's going on all around the world. That's a problem. Be careful of trafficking. Be alert. Be careful of the countries that you go to. If you're going because of a relationship, marriage, be aware of spousal abuse. Gave them contact numbers in case they things don't go right where they're going and they need to get back home to their country, how to find where their embassy is in the country where they're going, stuff like that. So once you went through that and got the certificates, then they were done. Now everything's cleared, and then they flew back home the day after. So they flew back home February 21st. And now they're just waiting until I go and get them. I'm probably going to go over there and for the day you do your medical, the clock, and you pass it, that clock starts there, is on your medical date. You got 6 months to get to the United States. So they got until July 30th to get over here. So I'm going over there end of April, first week of May, somewhere around in there. Gonna go over and get them and bring them back. I ain't gonna let them come over here by themselves. That's a lot going overseas. So I'm gonna go get them. And then once we get here, they go through customs at point of entry in the United States. Then the new clock starts, and we got 90 days from that point to get married. So as soon as we get back here, we're gonna set it all up, and within 2 weeks, get married. It's been a long year of a lot of work. Visas to do it legally is very, very hard. And even with us doing it with the having someone do it for us, it made it so much easier for us, but it's still stressful because it's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of tracking down, getting stuff done on both of us. With her, it was more because she didn't have stuff. I had all that stuff done. I had everything. So it was just me gathering it all up and making copies and sending it over to our coordinator to get everything bundled up to send in. With her, she was having to travel, go and get passports and pictures and certificates of certain things, like you got to have that certification that you've never been married, blah blah blah, all this, birth certificates, like I said, passports. They gotta get passports, a lot of stuff that she had to travel to the next closest city that she lived from to go get all that stuff done. So both sides have to do a lot of paperwork and information gathering stuff to be sent in. But yeah, definitely anybody doing it, I recommend doing it with a guidance coordinator company. It costs money, but it's worth it. And that's how I thought about it going into it. I didn't care what the cost was, because just to know that it's done right, and we don't screw the paperwork up, because that messes it up. Make sure it's done right the first time. Yeah, that was a wise decision to hire someone to do it and help us. And they help, like with her, that's a Philippine-based company. They're in the Philippines, and they help the Filipina over there. They guide them and try to take all the stress off of them and make it as stress-free as possible. They set up the hotel stays for us by the embassy for the medical and the interview, and set up the hotel stay near the place where the CFO class was done, and helped her with all that stuff, like opening the package so you don't mess it up. So yeah, I mean, a company like that, if you're going to do the process, that's definitely what you do, is you go through a coordinating company like that, because they make sure it's done right. They make sure you get your visas and are able to get through it all without messing any of it up. So that's where we're at now, is they're just waiting for me to come get them, and I'm going to be doing that here in the next 2 months. We're going to make the whole we're going to video the whole me going over there. Well, I'm going to stay there like a week only, and then us coming back. We're going to do all video and making videos on the channel with all of that. So watch for that as it comes. All right.